Can't believe who just told me that we can't live here anymore. I mean, I'll tell you who it is, but I want to go through some stuff first. As you know, or well, you may not know, Carolyn and I built this place ourselves. I mean, completely developed it ourselves, I should say. I actually built this tiny house by myself. Now, I've never built anything in my life professionally. And I say this because I think, like most people, I have built a couple of things. I built a front porch, bought an old 100-year-old home, and the front porch was caving in and everything. So I just basically redid the deck, and I used 2x6s. Found out later I could have used 1x6s. But all I did was I copied what the back porch looked like. Somebody built or redid the back porch. So I really didn't do anything too fancy. I built a little dog kennel. I mean, it didn't last very long, but I built it. Built the truck camper, but Dad was down there and he was helping me with that. So it's not like I did anything really professional or anything that would constitute living in. But like I said, I did build this myself. Carolyn helped me lift this north wall here. And I don't know why I had her do it, because I built the walls on the floor and then we raised them up. I don't know why I had her help me. She was up here. I said, hey, you want to help me lift it? And then I realized, no, I want to do this myself. But it was too late. That wall was already done. But the rest of it I built myself, except for that little plastic shower that we bought. You got to put those together. And it says it's a one-man operation, but I don't know what one man did it. So she helped me put that together, but everything else I did myself. Now, I will admit that I called a lot of people, mostly my dad, to help me figure out what I'm doing, but YouTube was the big asset. YouTube was the thing that helped me the most. The rafters, I built the rafters. Now, I've never cut an angle in my life, and Dad sent me a blueprint to build the rafters. So what I did was I cut out the first one, the first rafter, and I laid it all out on the floor in here. There was no roof, but the walls were up. I had a tarp up covering, keep the leaves out. It was fall time in the rain. So I laid it all out on the floor, and then I took a pencil and I drew it out, the whole thing, after it was all laid out. And then I put little screws into the floor, kind of like a jig, to hold all the pieces in place. And then I disassembled that first one, and I cut every piece like the first one. So I would grab a board, lay it on the sawhorse, take one of those pieces that I already cut, lay it up there, draw it out, cut it. And then I would lay that piece in the jig where it was supposed to go. I had it all numbered, like spot 1, jig 1, had it all numbered, laid out. And so then if the pieces didn't fit in that jig that I had laid out on the floor with all the screws holding everything in place, if there was a board that didn't fit, I knew there was something wrong. And then I could just assemble it right in the jig, screw it all together and lift it up there. I had to get it square too. Now you'd think, being on a trailer frame, that being square would have been pretty easy. The problem was the trailer had been ran into probably by a brush hog, if I had to guess. And so it was bent. So I had to build a square house on a bent frame. One of the things that I'd never even considered how to do before was this overhang here. I forget what they call it, soffit, or that's another thing. All the words they use, soffit and gusset and blah, blah, blah. It's a canuter valve. Anybody who has watched Tool Time will know what a canuter valve is. So Dad sent me a video on that, because I didn't even know what to call that. And I was able to build this overhang here. Now, I somehow messed it up, and I still haven't corrected it. But there is a piece here that doesn't fit correctly. So I just took some caulk and I filled it in. I'll fix it one of these days. Maybe never. It works. I should paint it at least. Now this side, I did get to work correctly. It all lined up perfectly. I don't know what I did different. But I'd never done anything like this. And I was able to build this in the floor we had done in May or March, or for May, I guess, that year. And then I started on the rest of it in September, and by January I had it all finished. Ordering the siding, that was a big challenge. I didn't know what I needed. I had to measure and measure and measure and measure. And you wanted to get it right because the shipping cost was so stinking high. Then I invented the water tank system. But I used that based on the design that I used when we were living as nomads. As a nomad, I had a bucket, and I drilled a hole in the side of the bucket and I stuck an RV pump in it. And then, so it would suck the water out, although these RV pumps don't suck, but the water would pressurize onto the inlet side of the pump, and then the pump would pump into a hose and we could take a shower that way. This is the same thing. This is a IBC tank. The IBC tank goes into an RV pump, and the RV pump pumps it into the camping on-demand water heater. But the big one that I had to figure out was how to keep this thing from freezing in the winter. That was all invented by me. I mean, I ran ventilation from up the top of the shower, and so all the heat that comes from the wood stove gets sucked into that vent and down into here. Now, solar panels. Solar panels have been pretty much my entire adult life learning. Back then, there wasn't YouTube and a bunch of information on how to do solar panels. Now all you got to do is Google it, and boy, I mean, you'll have all the information you want. YouTube videos out to you know what, but they're really just, they're not that difficult. But boy, trying to figure all this out back then was so complicated. The first thing I thought I had to do was I thought I had to grid tie it. And so what you do when you grid tie it is you basically hook it into your breaker box. And so then if you're making more electric than what you're using, it actually pushes the electric through the meter. So you have a meter on the outside of the house, and it will reverse the meter. So the electric company is actually paying you for the electric. I called the electric company and asked them what I needed to do. And there was this one component that cost $10,000 that I had to install, that they were going to sell me. Maybe they had to install it. But the idea behind this one component was that if the grid went down, I wasn't producing any electricity into the grid. So basically I got shut down too, which I thought was silly. I need electric when the grid is down. This is why I want solar panels. But they didn't want electric being fed back into the line in case they had to work on the line, and they didn't want to electrocute anybody. So that didn't make sense to me. So I figured out how to do it so I didn't have to tie into the grid. Basically, I just ran two different systems. Some of the outlets in the house went to solar, and some of the outlets in the house went to electric. Had some light bulbs that was solar and some light bulbs that weren't. It was just a hodgepodge inside the house. The original solar panel that I bought was off eBay, and it was something somebody had built, and you had to go out there every few minutes and turn it because they had some sort of magnifiers in it, and it was crazy, and I really didn't like that. And so then I bought solar cells, the little blue panels, and they're like 6 inches by 6 inches, and I tried to put all those together. When I got them, like 6 of them were already broke, and then when I got them in there, I started assembling them. I think I broke the rest of them. So that was a waste of money. But I finally got it all figured out. I got 3 or 4 solar panels. Back then, the old charge controllers, they weren't the MPPT charger controllers, you know, these fancy ones now. They were just on or off. There wasn't any real control to them. These new ones are so nice. So when I installed these, I had to learn all that again. Just because the technology had improved in the short 10 years that I'd been away from it. But I did it all myself. I've never had help with anything. I'll tell you the one thing that was really scary was the well. As you know, this place came with a hole in the ground, 100 some odd feet in the ground, and there was no well pump. Now the other problem is I was on YouTube, and so I had all these so-called experts telling me everything I did was wrong. So everything was just scary when it came to the well. The well house had fallen down. The well liner had a crack in it. I mean, there were just a lot of problems with the well. I had to figure out how to fix it. I didn't know anything. The concrete base that they originally had was all chipped up and knocked up, and it was in bad shape. The first thing I had to figure out was, do they even make a well pump that I can run off a generator, a 110 volt generator? Found one, it was on Amazon. Actually, I found 2, same company. And then when I got it installed, the water was dirty, and there was nothing on YouTube. There's like 4 videos on YouTube that told you anything. Now there's a guy on YouTube who's an actual well guy, and he makes videos regularly. And one of the videos, maybe 2 of the videos, was the well packer. And that's all they would tell you. I saw one guy hold the well packer up so I knew what it looked like. And the well packer was being used so I could keep the well liner from leaking. So this is why this PVC pipe comes out of here. I've talked about all that before. I don't want to get into it again. But there's like one company in the world that sells well packers. Their webpage was just terrible. I mean, it was, I still, well, after all that research, I spent like a year researching what I needed, and I still got the wrong well packer. Not that it hurt me. There's a well packer that you put a pipe on the top and a pipe on the bottom. I didn't need that one, but that's the one I got. The one I needed, I just needed a pipe on top. It's not a big deal. It worked. I forget, I had to call him after I ordered it. I don't remember why I had to call him, but I called him. He said, I don't know why you ordered the one with the pipe on the bottom. Because that's what I saw on your webpage. That was basically it. But I got it to work, and it works really well. We've only had a dirty well. I've told you that the well gets dirty when it floods. Probably once in the last year and a half, maybe 2 years. What it is this ditch up here. On the first heavy rain, all those leaves from up the hill come rushing down, clogs up my culvert, and so all that water runs straight to the well. So this next winter, I'm going to be diligently raking out the leaves out of that ditch so that doesn't happen next spring. I'm going to see if I can avoid that. Built this little shack to put around it and concrete the floor. Had to mix my own concrete. The one thing that scared me the most was installing the wood stove. I mean, I just built this house, and then I was cutting out a chimney, a hole in the roof, and I mean, what if something would have went wrong? I've never done any of this. And I know there's going to be people in the comment section, oh, you did it this way and you should have done it this way. Well, that means you're telling me you've done this before, you've had experience. I didn't have any experience. So it was all learning as I go, and I think I did pretty good. The other one is chickens. Now, I've had chickens in the past, but the thing is something you should know is when you get chickens, you will probably lose your first batch, or at least some of them. I mean, we ordered chickens online. I've had chickens before. The first batch we ordered, once we got established here, we got the tiny house built and everything, we ordered them in February from Tractor Supply Store. I mean, we followed all the instructions, and they said they were going to ship them out to us. Well, the temperature dropped to like the -3 degrees for 2 weeks. So I called Tractor Supply, and I said, I'm a little bit worried about them sending the chickens through the mail in these temperatures. And so they understood my concern, so they connected me with the hatchery that was going to send them. The hatchery's in Iowa, I think. So I called them, and they said, oh, no, don't worry about it. We put heated pads in the box that we put the chickens in, and they'll come to your location within 24 hours. They'll put them in the front seat of the truck that brings them down to you, and then the post office will call you and tell you that the chickens are there. Well, I said, I don't think my postmaster will actually call me. Why would she? Just put them in the car and deliver them. That's what she's going to tell the driver. No, they have to do it by contract. Well, I mean, sure enough, I've said this a million times on my videos. They put it in the car, drove around town all day with the window open, sub-zero temperatures. I run up to the mailbox when the mail driver came by, and he says, I think these guys are dead. You better give them inside quick. Well, of course they were dead. They froze to death. So, I mean, even with our experience, we still had a loss. It just happens. So, yeah, you're probably going to lose some chickens on your first batch. What I find interesting is the people that say, well, I can't do it because I've never done it before. I watched this video of this guy one time, and they bought a shed for their tiny house, and they said, well, I've never had any experience building anything, so we just went in and bought the shed. It was more likely that he was too lazy to do the research to figure out how to do it. It was just easier to have someone else do it, buy it. I tell you what, there's a lot of pride in doing it yourself. But I don't understand this philosophy. You can't do it until you learn how to do it. There's a story, I don't know how true the story is or where it comes from, of this child who asked its mother, can I have a bicycle? Or can I learn how to ride a bicycle or something? And the mother tells the child, no, you can't. Not until you learn how to ride a bicycle. Well, how are you going to learn how to ride a bicycle if you don't actually ride a bicycle? How are you going to learn how to build a house if you don't actually build a house? How are you going to learn how to raise chickens if you don't actually raise chickens? So I got a comment the other day that says, I can't do any of what you've done. I don't know how to do it. Well, I don't even understand that. What do you mean you don't know how to do it? With the internet the way it is today, well, I guess I do understand why they can't do it. But with the way the internet is today, you can research anything. But here's why I think most people can't do it. Is they'll watch my video, for example, or anybody's video, but I know this for sure on my channel, and they'll watch 2 minutes of a 16-minute video. And they'll comment, well, you can't do it that way, and they'll go off on their diatribe about what it is I'm doing wrong or right, or how they've done it better, or they don't know how to do it, or whatever it is. Or they'll ask a question, and it's in the video. They just didn't watch the video. They're too busy not paying attention to pay attention. So, if you'll click this up next box, it'll take you to a video where I was talking about our property got repossessed. So I hope I can inspire you to give it a try so you can learn how to do it. So you can live your dreams. Thanks for watching.